Usha, your name is visible. Is that fine?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so do you give us the consent of telecasting this on YouTube?
Yes.
And it would be there forever, probably?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, okay. So here we are. We are all set for today's session. And thank you, Usha, for volunteering for today's session. And we'll be discussing anxiety today. So tomorrow we probably will discuss anger, but today the topic is anxiety, right? Okay. Usha, so may we start?
Yeah.
All right. So Usha, what problem would you like to work on in today's session?
So basically, I've been diagnosed with this. I really don't know the full name of this, but it is something called the personality B disorder, cluster B. So it's been 4 years now. I've been taking medication since 4 years, but things have gone a lot better, I would say. Recently, since Jan, I'm taking CBT, but I'm really looking forward for becoming maybe having different therapies at the same time. Because I myself am a student of first year psychology, so I really want to know how things work. So
what progress have you made in CBT so far?
About actually, both me and my therapist want me to become more socially more going more social, not to discriminate between friends, and have and not be so tough to yourself. I've not yet worked really on anything because I'm still in my initial stages. I am trying to manage my anger and some of my emotions as yet.
All right. Okay. So I would like you to continue with the CBT therapist, and we'll do some work today, right? Because there is nothing like, continued therapy. And we might pick up on one specific emotion that you would like to regulate today. And you have chosen to work on anxiety. Is that what you would like to work on today?
Like basically, I have a constant fear and constant anxiety about how my future is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I really ponder upon every time.
Right.
All my free time goes in thinking how will I be able to do my masters? Will I be able to do my further PhD and all that? How will I be able to do? Because back in school I had been very successful, so I really wonder how I'll be, and how much I'm going to imbibe, and how much I'm going to become a good psychologist as far as my career is concerned.
Okay, how old are you?
I'm 18, 19, 18, 19.
You're 18, 19, right? Okay.
Okay, 19 to be specific.
All right. Okay. So when people of my age start saying that I'm in my fourth decade, fifth decade. Okay. So Usha, I understand your apprehensions at this age specifically because at 18, 19 we have our career that is upcoming, and there is a lot of uncertainty at this age. So your apprehension is definitely understandable, right? But how is your own anxiety a problem for you?
It's a problem for me because I overthink, I overdo. And yesterday's session, as I attended it, I just saw that I again do a lot of the thoda kutta, soda kutta, Tommy. I don't know the literal thing, but I do a lot of that.
All
and again, I'm very harsh towards myself. I don't think positively about myself, which is very wrong according to my parents. They are completely against it. So
so your anxiety is a problem in a way that you beat yourself up, right? Is that correct? So I wouldn't say right or wrong, good or bad. I would say it is not helping you. Is it correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So my question would be, how would you like to feel instead of feeling anxious about your future?
Even if it is not very safe and secure, at least I should be convinced that I should not do a bad show.
And that sounds like concern to me, that you want to be concerned about your future, but not anxious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So now we have three options. You want to be careless about your future. Number one. Number two would be you want to be anxious about your future. Now, both these options are extreme and
Yeah.
they're not going to help you, right? To improve the outcome of, um, your feelings, you would rather feel concerned but not anxious. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how motivated are you to work on your anxiety?
Yeah, very much.
Very
Fully.
much. All right. Okay. Fine. So I would request that do you have a pen and paper ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Fine. Now, would you like to explore where your anxiety comes from so that we can work on it?
Yeah, just last night I was almost going to fall asleep and I was thinking whether how successfully I'm going to clear the semester, how successful am I going to be in my next semesters and the masters, and then even whatever next what I want to do.
Next life or what?
Not next life, no.
Not that anxious, right?
No, 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 no. No.
Right. Okay. So why don't you write down the goal of today's session is to feel concerned and not anxious about your career. I had an expert anxious person who would worry so much that she had planned for the next 3 lives. Anyway, good you're not that. Uh, so yesterday's night that you were worrying about your future, correct?
Yeah.
Would I like to make 3 columns on the page so that we can divide the information that you're talking about, and you will be able to see objectively where your anxiety comes from. So, do you know the A, B, and C structure that we have been following?
Yeah, but I don't remember it.
No problem. So A stands for trigger, B
Yeah.
stands for thoughts, and C stands for a reaction.
Yeah.
What triggered your anxiety yesterday, last night?
The, maybe because semester ends are approaching.
Okay, so approaching semesters.
Yeah.
Write that down. Approaching semester. And how did you feel about this?
I didn't feel comfortable. I was like, why is this happening? Is this baseless or what?
So you felt anxious and you felt worried about your anxiety as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so there were like two triggers here. Number one, that you felt anxious, and
So
then
in the
you
thought.
also noticed your anxiety and you felt uncomfortable about your anxiety.
Yeah.
So would you like to work on the primary anxiety about semesters or your discomfort about anxiety?
The second one about anxiety.
Interesting. So why don't you erase the semesters, upcoming semesters from this, and then see, write down that I got anxious about the upcoming semester. So this was the trigger. So you noticed being anxious. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then how did you feel about anxiety?
I felt it is just eating me up for no reason.
This
It's
is a
robbing
thought.
my peace.
Yeah, this is a thought. But how did you feel after having such a thought?
Very terrible, uncomfortable.
Okay, could you name a specific word for that feeling? For instance, did you feel proud about your anxiety? Did you feel
No.
ashamed, guilty, anxious, worried, depressed, hurt, angry?
Depressed. I guess depressed. Yeah.
Depressed about your anxiety, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so write this down. C, depression. And when you say depressed, what did you do after you felt anxious?
I just pondered for some time and I slept.
Okay, so you pondered for some time and left, right? Slept, right? Write this down in the C section. You felt depressed, then you pondered for some time, and then you slept. How is your depressed feeling about anxiety a problem for you? And if anyone has certain feelings, they might feel about that feeling. But is it problematic for you to feel depressed about anxiety?
I don't feel nice when I think that I'm depressed because I can't accept that very fact.
Hmm. So it is distressing to you, right? Do you mean to say that it causes discomfort to you?
Yeah.
How would you like to feel instead of feeling depressed about having anxiety?
About anxiety instead of feeling depressed, making terms with it.
Mhm. So not necessarily liking it,
Yeah, but coming terms with what is
coming to
happening.
terms with it. And that feeling would be labeled as. So let me give you
Um,
a few choices. Like you would like to feel concerned, sad, disappointed, inconvenienced, but not depressed, uh, disappointed, or probably healthy.
maybe a bit disappointed.
Disappointed, but not depressed, right?
Yeah,
So that would
yeah,
be the
like in
goal
the
for
positive
today's
side.
session, right? So you want to feel disappointed, but not depressed about anxiety.
Yeah,
So can we refine our goal today? Would you like
sure.
to write it down? Disappointed but
Yeah,
not depressed about anxiety. So there are two different levels. One, you feel anxious about your future, which is your semester or your academic career or academic future or probably your career. And number two, you also feel depressed about your own anxiety.
yeah,
Yeah, we chose to work on your depression about anxiety because it is distressing to you. And it's a good choice because once you start coming to terms with your anxiety, you will be in a better frame of mind to actually work on your own anxiety.
yeah.
Does this make
I
sense?
would like to go with that.
All right, okay. So, what thoughts made you depressed about your anxiety?
Thoughts that make me depressed about
Anxiety.
anxiety.
You felt anxious last night and then you felt depressed about it. The thoughts were?
Yeah, because see, uh, I've never had anxiety before, and I was ready for anything, uh, anything like tough. I was ready for that, and I really don't think. I don't feel that it's me when when I fear so much and I go into a cocoon. I don't feel that it's me.
Yeah. So, can you write this down in the B section that I don't feel it's me? I don't feel it's me. It means that what are you now?
I feel I'm a different person because I'm not the real Usha I used to be.
And that real Usha
Always
was like what?
bubbling, charming, always
Okay.
never, never sitting at one place and crying and
Okay. So write this down.
getting
Draw a
worried.
small downward arrow in the B section. I am not the same Usha anymore.
Yeah,
Not the same Usha anymore. And again, downward arrow, which means the bubbly and energetic one. Is that correct?
yeah,
Bubbly and energetic one. So you are the opposite now.
yeah.
And you are like what now?
Some unknown person, alien, into my body.
Alien into my body. And you felt depressed because?
That's what is happening is not right.
Not right. Okay, write this down, downward arrow. What is happening is not right. And what does it mean? If it is not happening, what should be right then?
Something that should be right could be that I don't worry so much.
What would be the implications of worrying so much?
Like implications of worrying. I spoil my mood
Hmm. And that would be, why would it be depressing?
because I create an unhealthy atmosphere for myself and people around me.
Hmm. And let us say that you do that. What would that lead to?
Fight.
Fight.
Yeah.
Okay. So downward arrow, unhealthy atmosphere, downward arrow leading to fights. So is that what you're depressed about? That I'm creating an unhealthy environment for myself, others, that would lead to fights? And
Yeah.
worst
Yeah.
case scenario, I don't want this to happen, but let's assume for the sake of therapy that it does happen, that there are fights because of your bad mood. Uh, why would it make you depressed?
I just say whatever comes to my mouth. I yell. I break things, and I make the house into a riot area.
Mhm. So you trigger disturbance in the house.
Yeah.
And what is the worst case scenario that can happen? If your anxiety and bad moods continue, then
Then it's like thunder pralaya going on.
Mhm. Can you write
Yeah.
this down? Downward arrow. The worst case scenario would be
Disasters.
disasters at home because of me. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Disasters because of me. And what does it imply that if there are disasters because of you?
I, everyone is unhappy. I am unhappy. There is unnecessarily the peace is robbed away.
Unnecessarily the peace is robbed away. What does it mean about you?
Exotic, so short tempered.
Mhm. What kind of a person is it mean you are if there is a lot of disturbance because of you?
Kebab mein haddi.
Kebab mein haddi. Now write this down, downward arrow, kebab mein haddi. And now people enjoy kebab mein haddi, right? They do what with the kebab mein haddi?
I mean, general people,
Yeah,
they
anyone.
make TV soaps out of that.
Those are not general people. Those are abnormal people who make TV soaps out of it. When you say kebab mein haddi, it's something that is fill in the blank.
Something that is. Oh, it's tough for me.
It is something that is really desired, desirable, wanted, valuable. What exactly are you
No,
saying?
no, no. It's completely undesirable.
Undesirable. So there is a word,
Avoidable.
avoidable. That's a word to it. Something kebab is something, and haddi is what?
I'm not so good at English.
I'll give you three choices. Maybe I'm the most wanted person. I'm the most valuable, worthwhile person. I'm the most lovable person, and I'm really a star, superstar, competent, worthwhile. What kind of a person are you if you are the reason for riots at home?
Notorious?
Notorious. Okay. Write down, I'm notorious. You're not good at English. Why don't you try it in your own mother tongue? What does it mean about you?
Um, बिगड़ा हुआ बच्चा.
Bigda hua bacha. Now, bigda hua bacha is goes into the category of someone who is irresponsible. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you have quite a few choices. Like, are you irresponsible, incompetent, or are you worthless, or unwanted, toxic? What kind of a person are you if you are bigda hua?
I really am very angry, very short tempered, provocable.
Yeah, so such people are what? Irresponsible or unwanted?
Irresponsible.
Irresponsible. I get it, right? So write this down, irresponsible person. Let me cross check. Let us say worst case scenario, you do have bad moods and these continue for many years. Let's assume that you have anxiety and you have bad moods and then it continues for some time. It also leads to certain disturbance in your family, right? And there are riots, as you say, disasters at home. Let us say worst case scenario that happens. I don't want that to happen, but just let's imagine. And in that worst case scenario, you were not to call yourself irresponsible. You were
I would
only to
not
call
call
yourself
myself.
as someone who made mistakes, but not irresponsible. If you were to call yourself not irresponsible, would you still be depressed about yourself for having
No.
anxiety? No. Okay, so I think we are on the right track. Why don't you underline the word irresponsible?
Yeah.
I have some other hypotheses as well about your depression, about anxiety. Were you having a thought that I absolutely must not be anxious, or absolutely must not cause any disturbance in my house?
Yeah.
Can you write this down? I absolutely must not cause disturbance in my house. And did you also think that you can tolerate or you cannot tolerate causing disturbance in the house?
Cannot tolerate causing disturbance.
Can't tolerate causing disturbance in the house. So the actual trigger was having caused disturbance at house in the home. That's also imagined in future, right? Like you're going to cause disturbance at home. The B was, it means I'm irresponsible or I can't tolerate causing disturbance at home, or anything else?
No.
No. So it is I'm irresponsible or I can't tolerate or I absolutely must not cause disturbance at home.
I can't tolerate.
I can't tolerate causing disturbance at home.
Yeah.
Did that thought make you depressed?
Actually, even the last one that I didn't think about irresponsibility, but I really thought that, I can't tolerate the disturbance. That does make me sometimes.
Disturbance
Yeah.
caused by me or the disturbance in general?
Caused by me, because I'm
Okay.
the root cause for that.
And then I think that would make you feel guilty, or did it make you feel depressed?
Yeah, even guilty. The
Guilty.
guilty, depressed, both.
Okay, so let's refine the ABC. The A was having caused disturbance at home. The B was I can't tolerate causing disturbance at home. And C was guilt and depression.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this thought that I can't tolerate causing disturbance at home.
Just a minute. What is the refined one? What is the refined one?
A is having caused disturbance at home.
Cause disturbance. Yeah. B.
The B would be I can't tolerate causing disturbance. And C is guilt and depression. Which one was more intense, guilt or depression last night?
Depression.
Okay, we'll stick to this. Do you think your thought that you can't tolerate causing disturbance at home has something to do with your depression?
Causing disturbance at home has something to do with depression.
I can't tolerate, I cannot take, I cannot stand it. Does this thought or belief have something to do with your feeling depressed?
No.
So where is your feeling depressed coming from?
About the fact that why am I so?
About the fact that you may cause disturbance in the house, right?
Yeah. Why am I doing that?
Let's check if this is really true or false, right? I do accept that if there was a guarantee that you won't cause any disturbance in the home in future, you wouldn't feel depressed about it, right? But such a thing is not, it's not in your hand. For instance, I may cause a lot of disturbance in my home tomorrow if, let us say, that I develop schizophrenia, I develop bipolar, something which is not in my let's say control, or I might develop COVID, or I might have stroke, and then there could be a disability. So such possibilities are always there, right?
Yeah.
But it is not sufficient to make me depressed. Let's imagine that there were 100 girls in your situation who have this possibility in future that they may cause disturbance in their homes, right? Hypothetically, that exactly similar situations, exactly similar age, and they have anxiety which is long standing, and they may cause some disturbance in the home in future. Do you think all of these 100 girls would feel depressed about such a possibility?
Some may be, some may not.
Some may be, some may not, right? Some may be more depressed than you,
Maybe. Yeah.
and some may be less depressed than you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some may feel anxious about such a possibility, but not depressed, right?
Yeah,
And
could be.
yeah, some may feel envious that everyone has a better life, I don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone may feel guilty, like you also felt guilty, but some may feel guilt primarily that it's all my fault, I am such a bad person.
Could happen again.
And someone may feel ashamed that this is personal weakness, that I am causing problems in my family, so I am weak in some way.
No, no.
Someone may.
Okay, yeah, someone.
In fact, you also used the word tough in the beginning. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I was tough.
Yeah, I am.
You were tough, and now you are not?
No, I am.
Okay. So someone may think that they are not tough anymore, and they may feel ashamed that they are weak. Is that correct? So why do people have so many different possible reactions in exactly similar situation?
The mind is different.
Exactly. Their mind is different. So the possibility is exactly the same, and their mind or mindset is different. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Given this fact, what is more responsible for a reaction like anxiety, depression, guilt, and so on? The mindset or the possibilities that can happen?
Mindset, because that is
Exactly.
what gives rise to so many possibilities.
Yes. So is this good news or bad news?
The way you perceive it.
Yeah. Is this good news that your perception makes you feel in a certain way?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Maybe. Yeah. True.
It is good news, right?
Yeah, it's good.
It's because your goal for today's session, if you take a look at the goal, can you take a look at the goal? You want to feel disappointed but not depressed about anxiety. Number one. Number two, we just found out that your depression about anxiety comes from a specific mindset. And this mindset is that I can't tolerate causing disturbance in my home.
Yeah.
So if you want to feel disappointed but not depressed, what will you have to change?
Mindset.
Exactly. You're on point.
Change mindset.
Specifically, I can't tolerate causing disturbance at my home. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Excellent. So before we go ahead, can you please summarize what we had discussed so far?
Okay. So we first fixed a goal that we want to be disappointed but not depressed.
About anxiety.
Then about anxiety. Yeah. And then we listed out the ABCs, and in the thoughts, we came down to irresponsible person, from I don't feel it's me, right? And then I thought that I must not be the disturbance at home, then I can't tolerate the disturbance that I'm causing. And then we came to changing mindset and how perception and mindset is.
Right. So more accurately, it is called as a belief that you can't tolerate the causing disturbance at home. And would you like to examine this if this is true or false belief?
Sure, sure.
Okay. So Usha, I'm really with you on this that you would not like to cause any disturbance at home, right? If I was in your situation, I would probably have the similar thought that I really don't like to cause disturbance at home. And that's also a good value that, I want to take up the responsibility of my actions. I want to take up the responsibility of my emotions. I want to behave well and not cause disturbance to other people. Like, something can be avoided, something, if it is in my control, I would like not to cause disturbance at home. There's nothing wrong in this value, right? And I appreciate you for holding such a value that you don't want to cause disturbance at home, right? But that thought or that belief that I don't want to cause disturbance at home and I would not like it if I end up causing disturbance at home is not sufficient to make you depressed. But when you switch from I don't like causing disturbance at home to I can't tolerate causing disturbance at home, you will feel depressed.
Okay.
Do you sense a difference between these two thoughts that I don't like causing disturbance at home
True.
and I can't
Yeah,
tolerate causing disturbance at home?
yeah, I completely understand.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. So let me refine the first statement a little bit more. I don't like causing disturbance at home, but I can definitely tolerate it. Is different
Mhm.
from I can't tolerate causing disturbance at home.
Yes, yes. The intensity is different.
No, it's a different thought altogether.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
at no point I'm saying that it is okay to cause disturbance at home,
Yeah.
right? I don't like it, but I can tolerate it is different from I can't tolerate it. Now, what do you mean by you can't tolerate causing disturbance at home when you felt depressed last night?
It's like I not only spoil my mood, my time, my productive time. I even spoil my mother's, my father's mood, their time, their peace, and I really can't put their health on stake if this continues for a long time. So yeah,
And this is something that you don't like.
yeah, unnecessary things that can be avoided.
Yeah, I'm with you on that you disapprove of this, you don't like it. My question is slightly different. What do you mean by you can't tolerate this?
Just don't like it. Can't tolerate.
You are equating you don't like it with you can't tolerate it.
Okay, I didn't get your point then.
All right, so let me put it this way. So let's say that I was walking on the street and I fall down and I hurt my toe. Will I like it?
No.
Will I tolerate it?
Yeah.
Yes, I will be able to tolerate it. It is tolerable, though it is not desirable and I don't like it. Then I go to a hospital and they do the bandage and they take my blood sugar, which is like 460. And it's like, oh my God, I have diabetes. I never had it. So that's news to me. Will I like this or
No.
will I like it?
No, no, no.
Will I
No.
tolerate the news?
Have to? Yeah.
Yes or no? Will I tolerate it or no?
No.
Yes, I would. Though I would disapprove. I would really, really, really dislike it, but I would tolerate
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah, yeah. You have to.
Hmm. Now the question is, can I tolerate or I cannot tolerate? The answer is yes, I can tolerate, though it is highly inconvenient, but I can tolerate it. Then they admit me to the first floor in a general ward, and then they say that you have to be kept under observation for 24 hours, and it's like that's so inconvenient, and but I do agree to it. Will I like this? Getting admitted for 24 hours?
No.
Will I tolerate it?
Yes.
Hmm. And then I, as notorious I am as you are, I peep out of the window. I peep out of the window to see, what's going on. And then I slip and fall from first floor onto the concrete floor. And then I break
Okay.
two of my bones. Will I like it?
No.
Will I tolerate it?
Yeah, you have to. No
Yeah, I
other
will
option.
tolerate it, breaking bones. And it's like, I beat myself up for, peeping out of the window. And then they admit me to the 13th floor in the orthopedic department with lots of, plasters all over me. So I'm like this, and inconvenienced for 7 days, plastered, and they don't discharge me. So finally, I'm like, I'm not bedridden anymore. And I peep out of the window again, where had I fallen? And yeah, that's like, you know me well, right? And I fall again from 13th floor down, and I hit the concrete floor head down. On the way down, I see all the departments, like orthopedic department, and then, first I see the neonatal department, and then I see the adolescent department, and then I see the adult department, and second floor is the geriatric department. The whole life passes in front of me. And then I hit the ground. Will I like it?
No. No, no.
Will I be able to tolerate the impact?
No, you'll not be able to tolerate that
Correct.
one.
Yeah, because that will kill me.
Kill me, yeah.
Now, do you see the difference between I don't really like it and I can't tolerate it?
Yeah.
If
Only
some,
when the not liking is to a very extreme, it goes to not able to tolerate.
you know what, there are two different things. I'll give you another example that will clearly tell you that not liking and not tolerating are two different things. Let us say that, the lethal dose of cocaine is, let's say, 1 gram. I do not know how much it is. And someone gives me small amount of cocaine. Will I like it? Probably yes.
Maybe?
Probably
Yes.
yes, right?
Probably.
I've never
Yeah.
taken it, and I would never take it. So if someone gives me small quantity of cocaine, I may like it, right? But if someone gives me a lethal dose of cocaine, I may still like it. I don't know the hierarchy of how it will, increasing doses of cocaine would probably be enjoyable, but at one point in time, it will kill me. I won't be able to tolerate the dose. So in spite of liking it, I may be able to not tolerate it. So,
Yeah.
something that kills me doesn't necessarily have to be distressing. It could be enjoyable also. But
Yeah.
that's why they are two different things.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Got the point?
Understood.
Now, you
Yeah.
tell me that, let us say, worst case scenario, that you do cause disturbance at home. Is this something that you wouldn't like or you can't tolerate?
Not like, but I
But
can
you
tolerate.
can tolerate. Are you
Yeah.
convinced? Are you convinced about it
Yeah.
now? Okay, wonderful. So, can you write down a new learning here in the B section, new belief?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I cause disturbance at my home, I
Mhm.
won't like it, but I can certainly tolerate it. It means the disturbance at home, right?
Excuse me.
It means the disturbance at home. I won't like the disturbance, but I will be
Okay.
able to
Okay. It.
tolerate the disturbance.
Yeah.
Now, how does this thought make you feel?
Comfortable. Better than previous thoughts.
But I'm not saying that it would be okay to cause disturbance at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you would like it if you cause disturbance at home. No, you don't. You won't, right? So, you would be careful at the same time, not beat yourself up for causing disturbance. So, you may also take some constructive steps into working on anxiety, which we have still not worked on, right? But your depression about anxiety does not teach you any skill. If you're disappointed about your anxiety, then probably you would take certain steps like, going ahead with CBT, that with your current therapist, You might contact your therapist and say that you want to work on your anxiety and so on, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you feel when you say that I would not like but can tolerate the disturbance at home?
Far more convincing than what it was.
No, first you felt depressed. Do you feel differently now?
Yeah.
What's the scenario?
Do you feel?
You felt depressed.
Yeah.
But let's say that tonight you also feel anxious again.
Okay.
And then you have the same chain of thoughts that I may probably cause disturbance at home in future. And if you think that I would not like it if this happens, but I would be able to tolerate it, how would you feel about anxiety tonight?
Very much light.
Light. Can you label
Yeah,
that feeling? If not depressed, then how would you feel?
Maybe just disappointed about it, but
Wonderful. Yeah, take a look at the session goal. What was it?
oh yeah, we have reached the goal.
We've reached the goal. Yay.
Oh, come on, don't be a kid.
Yeah, we reached the goal. Now,
Yeah.
sitting here comfortably when you're not anxious, such thoughts are easy to, change and probably convince yourself that you would be disappointed and you would tolerate it and not like it. But when we actually get into the adversity, for instance, you get anxious, this may be slightly difficult for you. So why don't you prepare yourself for this evening that you may get anxious again, and then would you like to prime your brain beforehand so that you don't get depressed about anxiety to begin with? And if you do get depressed, then you can still undepress yourself. Would you like to have a tool in hand?
Yeah.
So the tool is a set of questions. Like, would you like to write down the questions? Number one,
Yeah.
if worst case scenario, I cause disturbance in my home in future,
Yeah.
comma, I wouldn't like that. But what is the evidence that I won't tolerate it? Right?
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, would building resilience towards my shortcomings help me manage my depression better? Does this question make sense to you? Your shortcomings could be lack of emotional management, like managing or regulating your feelings. You may have roller coaster of emotions and so on. So if you build resilience towards your shortcomings, for instance, skill deficits, to be more accurate,
Yeah.
would that help you manage your depression better?
Certainly.
Right? So building resilience means increasing your frustration tolerance towards your own shortcomings. So the shortcomings are, to be more precise, emotional management skills or lack of emotional management skills. So I think you may want to learn a lot of emotional management skills first, and then other skills that social skills and all should be learned a little later, right? Emotional management skills would always come first. Excellent. So would you ask these two questions beforehand tonight before you go to sleep? Like, let's say after dinner, and then you ask these two questions to yourself, and worst case scenario, if you do get anxious, then you ask these questions again to yourself.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Okay. So now you may see a difference in your feelings, but this is not the end of therapy. I would want you to follow up with your therapist show your therapist what you have done, and then maybe the therapist would take it ahead from there. Usha, what was most helpful in today's session?
The fact that I get a tool to prevent the forthcoming events.
Okay, and if not forthcoming events, like what?
I mean, if things go out of control, at least I have some tool to tell myself that I certainly can be disappointed, but need not get depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, and that tool is
The questions that you now gave me.
right, and that may change your conviction into the belief that I can't tolerate causing disturbance at home. In fact, you don't like it, but you can tolerate it. Anything that didn't help in the session?
No, nothing.
How likely are you to ask these questions to yourself this night?
Yeah, very much.
Very much.
About 8 or 10.
Okay, so the more you ask these questions till you're convinced, the more you will have an emotional change eventually. All right. Okay. So thank you so much for volunteering, and I really appreciate you, speaking up about your problems to us. And the forum is open for questions now.
Okay, so my question was, first I'd like to point out, it was an excellent session, and I've been following up with all your sessions, and I feel really privileged to learn so much from you. Apart from this, I wanted to ask you, could you please shed some more light on the downward arrow technique?
Mm-hmm. So what we used here was inference chaining, not the downward arrow technique. Downward arrow technique is used in cognitive therapy, but
Yes.
this is inference chaining where you go on finding the meaning of it and the meaning of it, or the prediction of it, or the significance of it, till you finally reach the core belief, which was frustration intolerance. I already had hypotheses in my head that what kind of beliefs could lead to feeling depressed, and I had three hypotheses. One was a demand, another was intolerance, and third one was depreciation. So I checked all of three, and although they all were operational, I finally cross-checked that it was FI, frustration intolerance, and I also refined the A. So not much, so much the B is important. I think the A is also important, like having caused disturbance at home in future. So, and then I cross-check if all three are in line, and this is how we refined the ABC. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
All right, thank you, Mohammed. So it is second year BA. I thought it was your name. I'm sorry. All right, okay. Next question, please. Kesha, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. It was a great session, I would say. I'm actually a third year psychology student, so I'm still learning what is the difference between REBT, CBT, and everything. It's not, my question is not actually related to today's session, but I have a doubt that how do we deal with a resistant or a reluctant client? Because like I see a lot of people discussing about their problem that we do face certain people. They just come over, but they just don't speak it out. So, and I face a lot of problem in talking to the people, how to open up, like how should we lead the session. So I face a lot of problem in that. So could you please tell me how it can be done?
Kesha, resistance is any behavior on the part of the client that is anti-therapeutic. So any behavior that interferes with therapy outcome can be called as resistance. Now, there are many different reasons for resistance, and let me say that I'll broadly put them into therapist factors, the client factors, and the disorder factors. So now we need to study all these three factors. For instance, the therapist could be too overbearing or too passive, so that could lead to resistance. The therapist could lack knowledge or skills, that could lead to resistance. There could be some factors in the client themselves. For instance, their gender. So they're probably not comfortable with a specific gender. That could be one, or the age, they may not be comfortable. And there are certain factors like the disorder itself, like they may be very severely depressed, or they may have a personality disorder. So you'll have to actually do cognitive conceptualization of the patient, at the same time see what are the factors within you that could be causing resistance. And this is precisely why the session feedback is one of the most important things you do at the end of the session. So you'll be able to understand. And if you sense resistance, bring it up in the session, and the client would probably answer you why they are resisting in therapy. So it's not a simple answer, I would say. You will probably have to learn a few things. There is a nice book on resistance. I'm gonna show you that book. Just hold on a sec. So this book is called as Overcoming Resistance, and this is by Albert Ellis. There is a similar book by Wendy Dryden as well. Is it appearing mirror image, or is it appearing correct?
No, it is appearing correct. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the book that we suggest for overcoming resistance. Yes, Ritika, go ahead.
Sir, first of all, it was wonderful session. Also, I would like to ask, how can you deal with frustration intolerance? Because every part of your body is telling you to just break out that phase and just go for with your intuition and go with your anger, go with your anxiety. Everything is telling you to just break that thing. But how can you tolerate it?
Break that thing means what?
लाइक आपको ऐसा लगता है कि आप बिल्कुल टॉलरेट नहीं कर सकते लाइक यू हैव टू डू दैट थिंग अदरवाइज समथिंग इज गोइंग रॉन्ग एंड
Okay,
या
right. All right. So now, first of all, the client needs to be cognitively convinced that there is a difference between not liking and not tolerating, right? Most of the people think that tolerating means submitting to something, and the only way to dislike something is to not tolerate it. No, this is not true. So cognitively means they need to be convinced that these two are different things. Number two, the best way to build resilience or tolerance, I do not like using the word tolerance because it has a very different connotation in the Indian scenario or the culture. I use the word endurance or resilience. So I usually have a cactus with me, and that cactus is a representative of high endurance to adversities. I tell people that cactus has evolved over millions of years, and it has become resistant. It has become very tolerant to the harsh environment, and this is a quality that we can learn from cactus. Is in spite of adversity, it has adapted itself to adversity. Because of its high endurance, it can thrive in adverse situations also. So many times in our life, we can change an adversity. And when we can't and we have to put up with it, one of the ways is to learn how to build resilience towards it. So, unless a client is convinced that they need to build high frustration tolerance, they're not going to build it.
all right, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yes. Isha Daya, right? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I am um, myself a patient of anxiety, you can say.
Okay.
So my question is, like like you provided some questions to address the anxiety. What if we feel overwhelmed at that right moment, and we kind of freeze and we literally cannot think how to come out that overwhelming phase?
Very good question, Isha. When we are anxious, sometimes it could be very overwhelming. One of the mistakes that people do while they feel anxious is they think that they want to be completely calm and confident in that situation. And that escalates their anxiety, because anxiety becomes a trigger itself and they can't control it. So they feel out of control. Remember, you don't have to eliminate anxiety. You just have to make it manageable. So when you're very, very, very anxious, remind yourself that this anxiety is going to go away even if you don't do anything. Number one. Number two, you don't have to eliminate anxiety. You just have to keep it manageable. Once you do both these things, the escalation of anxiety would probably go away. Number three, the thing that you need to tell yourself that anxiety is largely self-created. So your thoughts are responsible for anxiety to a great extent. And whenever you are very, very anxious, your thoughts and negative predictions are largely false, right? So once you convince yourself that if I'm feeling very, very anxious, then I don't have to trust my thoughts, then you would probably start de-escalating the anxiety, and within 20 minutes, it may come down to what is manageable. And then you will be able to probably, manage the anxiety well. I do not specifically recommend using relaxation techniques or safety behaviors for reducing anxiety. In the longer run, they become problematic and they reinforce anxiety. So how to deal with anxiety is something that we teach in our training programs about CBT and REBT. And believe me, what you as a person who is currently dealing with anxiety, this should be sufficient. And then I'm sure that your therapist would be able to assist you further. Thank you. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Piyush, go ahead. Your question.
Hi, sir. Good evening
Hi.
there.
Very good evening.
Looks like most of your audience is psychology students or practitioners.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just IT professional. So I just wanted to quickly share you what maybe it's anxiety or what. I am not aware what exactly that emotion is, but so what I have recently, like from past year, what's happening is this COVID pandemic and all, right? It gave me much ground to overthink about certain things, right? So recently, what happens? Not recently, but in past summer, I mean, bad things or bad news happens, every time, and you get to hear about them. But if you're busy, you go away with and you move on. But last year's, some certain bad news that happened, and I got very, I got disturbed by that very much, and I started to like believe. Questioning my own beliefs. Like, am I also that kind of a person? Or such bad things will happen by myself as well? Am I going to do the same thing in future?
Like what? Going to do what?
Any bad thing. I mean, that incident I would not like to describe.
No problem. Okay. But I might end up doing bad things.
Yeah, exactly. And those thoughts, shook me like anything.
Mm-hmm.
I was literally got sleepless for a few days. I mean,
Right.
I was used to.
Because these thoughts appear to be in the category of what we call as obsessive compulsive thoughts. Now, people believe that their thoughts could become reality just because they think them. So you need to understand that just because you think something does not necessarily mean it's true.
Okay.
So believing just a passing thought could become true is can actually create anxiety. For instance, if I was to think that, what if I kill my daughter? What if I jump off from this cliff? What if, I have sex with my mother? What if? So, you may have certain thoughts like this. So that could be blasphemous thoughts. They could be sexually obscene thoughts. They could be harm thoughts. And just because you have a thought does not mean that it is true or that you will act on it. So remember that there is a concept called as thought action fusion, which means that if I think something, then the likelihood of that happening increases, or it is equivalent to doing it. So these things are false. So do not pay a lot of attention to these thoughts. They don't have to be processed. They are the work of your active mind. Just because you think something does not mean it's true.
Exactly, because I think most of the positive thoughts as well, they never came to reality.
Yeah, I wish
right?
that I'm a billionaire and
Yeah,
tomorrow
exactly.
morning I find. So
Exactly.
just because you think something does not mean it's true.
Yeah, so I think I overthought those events. And
you thought about the thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
You thought
and
about
so
the thoughts.
Can we like put this into a category of anxiety?
Yes, it is anxiety, of course. Yeah,
okay.
But these thoughts are obsessive compulsive thoughts.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, Divya, go ahead.
Hello, sir. I have two questions here. One is, if in every session the client changes the adversity, and maybe you also realize the belief is also different in every session, and in such a case, what is it that you would suggest to the client? Would you ask them to continue with the same belief that we spoke about last time, because then the goal is again going to change?
Correct. Now, that's a very good question. So sometimes the clients keep changing the A because they don't want to work on that specific A and they don't want to change their reaction. If you consistently see this as a pattern, then you may bring it up in therapy that this is resistance, that you are not working on one problem and you're bringing up other problems. But if you see a common denominator, which is the belief system is the same behind all these behaviors or the A's, then you may want to continue doing it. But it's always makes sense to ask, how much of the homework have you done in the last 1 week? And if they say that no, I didn't do it, there was another thing that happened. And if you see this as a consistent pattern, please bring this up, because that could be a safety behavior not to work on a specific problem. Someone asked me a question, thought stopping technique. Jaya, we do not recommend thought stopping technique. Thoughts cannot be stopped, and it is obsolete. So we do not use thought stopping technique. I wish we could discuss OCD today, but if there is someone who has OCD, I'd be happy to have them for the session. The goal is to not engage in these thoughts that are intrusive. So thought stopping is again engaging in these thoughts. The more you engage in them, the more frequent they become. So in obsessive compulsive thoughts, the goal is to not engage in thoughts and passive disengagement in these thoughts. All right. So we have a few questions from YouTube. Even after making ABC connection and stating how B led to C, what if the client repeatedly stating that he had been depressed from childhood and still continuing with self-defeating behavior? All right, so if the BC connection cannot be established, you could see this as a signal that they probably have an advantage of maintaining the AC connection, which means that they continue to blame the environment or their past for what has happened. And you need to explore this, that what could be the possible advantages of staying depressed? Not you, but maybe someone else. So there are secondary advantages of staying depressed, and this is one of the reasons why people may continue to hold on to the AC connection. In this anxiety in the pandemic and current situation in city, will you address something on this? Yes, I'm going to come up with a small video tomorrow on the same channel. So it will be posted about how to manage the pandemic anxiety. All right. Okay. Ways to break out of a loop. It was a great session. What are best ways to break out of a loop? Despite asking questions, the client circle backs to similar responses. I think what kind of similar responses is the client saying? Now you need to change strategy. Or if you are asking about logic, then you may change the strategy to pragmatic. The best way is to tell the client things in a different form. So you may use an analogy, you may use a metaphor, you may use self-disclosure, you may tell them a story, or you may talk about a movie, or you may ask them something about their own work. You may do reverse role play, you may have empty chair technique. There are so many hundreds of different techniques when the client keeps repeating in the same loop. So we need to change your techniques. If one strategy fails, one technique fails, try another. Is there any difference between anxiety attack and panic attack? Yes, definitely. Severe anxiety is different from severe panic. Severe anxiety is usually intense worry about something. We call it generalized anxiety. But in panic, there is catastrophic misinterpretation of physiological sensations. So it could be a heartbeat, or it could be shallow breathing or deep breathing. That becomes a trigger. And these people have a sense of emergency, that they have a medical emergency and they want to get to the hospital ASAP. So this is severe anxiety. It comes de novo, means it suddenly comes like you're watching TV, enjoying time with your family, and suddenly an episode of panic comes up. So the hallmark of panic is extreme fear of another episode of panic. So that differentiates panic from severe generalized anxiety. Okay. I would like to take more questions from Zoom now. Okay, anyone wants to? Anikesh, yes, we could take you up tomorrow. Please write to me at shishirpal@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to assist you. Anyone would like to ask any questions?
Sir, hi, this is Forum here. Good evening. Sir, when you were answering the previous question about checking on their homework and have they been completing it. So if this was a continued therapy session and the client comes back to me, say a week later, and I start, like, when I saw the first two sessions that we generally started it with what problem would you like to work today on. So do we start the session with checking on their homework, or
yes,
we set up a new goal?
Yes. So we check the homework first. What have you done in the last session? What had we discussed in the last session, and what was the homework that was assigned? Do not ask questions like, did you do the homework? Because it will come as, having done it or not done it. How much of the homework have you done it? And what were the things that came in the way of doing the whole homework? This is what we usually ask.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Any more questions? Okay.
So I still had another question that I had to ask.
Sure.
If it was the same A, which was anxiety about anxiety, and here the critical A was having caused disturbance at home, what could have been other inferential or other critical A's?
Because it was depression, it could have been, she's at an age of her career. So it could be probably that because of my anxiety, I failed. And, if you remember, her primary concerns were about career, whether I'll be a successful psychologist or no. So another A could have been, I could not achieve professionally as much. This could be another A. There could be some family ill health of someone. That could be another A. So there could be possibly any A. And that's why you need to ask very open-ended questions. What are the implications of this? Instead of, having a closed-end question, what does it mean about you? So have open-ended questions and have multiple hypotheses. Just because you got one belief does not mean that it is true. For instance, here we got the depreciation belief, but I still explored another belief. And in fact, that came out to be the central belief in the disturbance, right? Did you notice that initially we came up with, I am incompetent, I'm irresponsible, and then we switched to I can't tolerate it?
Right.
Yeah. So, just because you got one, be an archaeologist only here, that if you got one belief, that does not mean there are none other beliefs. Like, you need to keep exploring and finally ask them, which of these was most important in making you feel depressed?
Okay. And it could there be another inferential A, such as I shouldn't be anxious at all?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
There could be other inferences, there could be other beliefs, right? But, keep your hypotheses open, right? Now we have upcoming training sessions in CBT and REBT that will start on 15th of May. All the details are there. I have sent you the chat where, you can be notified about the upcoming programs. The details are definitely there on the website. But you may follow me on my social media pages and also the Facebook page. Okay. Anyone else? Surabhi, you have a question today as well.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
No problem. I love.
But today's session was like really nice, and in fact, I really like the book which you recommended. I started reading about it. The question was, it was a very interesting thing which you just mentioned about passive disengagement of thoughts.
We'll take it up when we discuss.
Yeah, I know. This is going to be a huge topic. If you could just take it in another sessions or something.
I will. Someone will volunteer with OCD, and I'm going to discuss how to deal with OCD.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. We could manage time a little better than last 2 days, and I really appreciate you coming here. And when I see a lot of people in the waiting room, it's like really encourages me. So thank you everyone, and have a wonderful evening ahead. Take care. Bye-bye. Good night. See you tomorrow.
Shishir sir, one last question.
Okay. Yes.
Just want to know, like, these CBT and REBT courses. These are like dedicated for like only psychology guys, or
no, all the details are there on the website. Just check morphicminds.com. The level 1 is open to everyone, but level 2 onwards are more applied for disorders. So we recommend that only psychologists do them, and they would anyway be an overhead transmission for people who do not have a psychology background. So the first level, definitely anyone can do it, and rest of them are something for reserved for mental health professionals.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Piyush. Okay, bye-bye everyone. Have a good night.